everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am the host, Tenitria Williams, and I am so excited to have you all and to have my special guest, my brother, Rafeal Marlow. We call him Ralph. You guys know what I want you to do. I want you to hashtag live if you are watching us live and let us know where you're watching from. And then if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching from. We're going to actually take a moment to share this video to our various groups and all of that good stuff. So give us 1 second. We're asking you to do the same thing. Go ahead and share the video to groups you are a part of. Share it to your story. Share all of those wonderful things. Tag your friends. Tag all the men that you know. Tag your cousins, your uncles, your nephews, your brothers. All of that. Share, share, share. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome our guest. Again, he is a brother to me, not biological, but I really, really do love this man as a brother. And he is a wonderful principal. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a minister. He's an author. Ralph does a lot of stuff. He's a handyman. Listen, Ralph has helped me a lot of times fixing up things that I needed fixing or something that broke or picking me up or doing something. And so he's a really, really good person to have on your team. So everybody give a shout out to our special guest, Mr. Rafeal Marlow. Again, continue to tag your friends and your family as we are getting started here today. So Ralph, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thanks. Thanks for being here. I appreciate the invite.
Well, you know, I had to have you on here. I want you to just give us a little bit of information about who you are. I told them kind of who you are from my perspective, but give us a little insight as to who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. So I'm the husband of April and the dad to Aiden Major and Ava Marlow. I have 3 kids. In my professional career, I operate as a director of alternative education programs that serve students across Arkansas. Been doing that for about 10 years. And so that's pretty enjoyable. I'm an author. I've written a book, working on another one. And generally, I just love serving people and doing what the Lord tells me to do.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good thing. You should do what the Lord tells you to do.
That is a good thing.
So you and I met when we were both in college. I gave you your tour when you came to visit the University of Arkansas. And, you know, I remember you very well. You were very eager to learn and to grow and all of that good stuff. And you made an impression on me, right? So I appreciate all of the years we've spent together. We also go to the same church. We are both pastors, ministers at the same church. Mm-hmm. One thing that our pastor talked about, well, let me go back a second. Today, we're actually talking about men and mental health. We're talking about all of the various roles and responsibilities that men have, and the weight of that responsibility. And sometimes I feel like men don't always have a safe space to be able to share that emotional part, right? And so I wanted to have you on because I want to talk about that balance of being a man, quote unquote, and having that safe place to, again, to to be open, to be honest, to just share your vulnerabilities and all of those things. And so I wanted to do that. I knew you would be a great guest to have on. Pastor Strickland, our pastor, put a post on social media, I think about maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know now. But when I said, oh, we're going to talk about that on the broadcast. And so I'm going to read it. And I want you to tell me what comes to your mind when you hear it, kind of what resonates with you. What are your thoughts on it? So let me read this. It says, a lot of men don't ask for emotional help because when they finally build up the courage to ask for it, they get talked about for needing it. As a society, we need to do better. So can you speak to this and kind of tell me about your experiences trying to open up or opening up and how you were received as a man sharing your vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I can't, and that's I saw his post, and that was pretty cool because I'm reading a book called Men, Women, and Worthiness by I forget the name of the author, but it talked about this very thing and
Mm,
how if a man or when a man feels vulnerable, feels secure enough to express how they are emotionally, that a lot of times women don't know how to receive that, and even some men, if I'm confiding in a man, know how to receive that because if you think about it from childhood, we are taught to be tough. From the
hmm
football, baseball field, you make a mistake and you feel bad. You like suck it up, boy, get out there and try it again. You don't really get to process your feelings. You're told to just try again, do it over, get it right next time. So you have that from childhood, and then you carry that over into manhood, and you're used to suppressing how you feel and just going back over. And so when you get to that point, but the other side of that, people are used to men being that way. Men supposed
hmm
to be strong. They're supposed to be tough. They're supposed to be protectors. They're supposed to be providers. And so society has made man almost like this superhero figure who doesn't have the opportunity to express weakness. And so when that is expressed, oftentimes people don't know what to do with it. And the book I was reading was a very pretty good example. It was about a wife. Her husband came home and told her how she felt. And she's a psychologist. So, but she came home, told her how he felt, and she's like, she didn't know what to do with that. Because she had
mm.
talked about it, but now here I am having to hear my husband. And she said the thing inside of her wanted to start a fight or to escape.
Oh, wow.
She felt uncomfortable. And I think it's a lot of people that if uh, I can go to April now, but I didn't feel comfortable doing that in the beginning. The other day, April said something. I said, "Hey, babe, that hurt my feelings." Now, probably 5 years ago, you wouldn't have had that. I would have just sucked it up and walked around. But we have talked about it. I got a safe place, but she has to learn because she would have said, "Why your feelings hurt?" Oh, it'd have been a wrap. Like
Mm,
because if I'm going to open up and share, and then you're not going to receive what I have to say, or you're going to minimize what I have to say, or you're going to tell me to be tough, then you probably don't have to worry about us having that conversation again. So I completely agree with what Pastor Evan said, both personally having experienced it. And one of my good friends from school just posted the exact same thing this morning. I was reading,
mm.
I meant to get permission to ask that I share, but I didn't, so I won't. But he was talking about how it's hard for a man because we don't have a space where we can express and how you can do 99 things right. And the one time you do something wrong, you're viewed as a failure or you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So it's tough out here
Yeah.
for a lot of men.
So, what can I'm going to say it from different perspectives? What can wives do? What can, I guess, parents raising sons do? How can we shift that so that men do feel more secure and safe to be vulnerable and to be open about what's really going on?
Well, I mean, I can speak from my perspective, me and April. From the wife's perspective, your husband comes tells you how they feel. Don't minimize that. Don't brush it over. You may feel uncomfortable because that's not something men
Yeah.
do. But if a man is sharing with you that they're hurt, they're sad, any emotion outside of anger and frustration, then they consider you a safe place. And how you handle that will determine whether you maintain that status of being a safe place. So even if you don't know how to respond, I think listening is good because sometimes somebody may not want feedback, but they just want to be heard. But definitely don't minimize it. Definitely don't say like, "Hey, suck it up," things like that because that doesn't help. As far as my kids go, I give them the space to feel all their feelings.
hmm
Like if they're upset, if they're sad, we process it. It's not like, "Boy, move on." It's okay. Why are you feeling this way? Let's talk about this because I don't want them to grow up and deal with some of the things I had to deal with before I learned how to express my emotions. So you walk around frustrated, you walk around angry,
hmm
irritated, all because you really didn't deal with the emotions that you needed to deal with because you suppressed them because you didn't want to look weak. Because it's weak for quote weak for a man to cry, for a man to do that. So if my boys cry, I let them cry. Now, when you finish crying, tears ain't gonna change the situation. So let's talk about what we need to
hmm
do to fix the situation and process how you feel so that we're not here again.
So you said before I learned to be like to share emotionally. How did you learn that? What process did you go through to be more emotionally mature or intelligent?
Gotcha. I think I was inclined to be a little more emotional because I was raised by my mom and my grandma. So when you're raised by women, you probably have, maybe, I don't know, I was.
Hmm.
But over time, I didn't want to be a jerk. And I didn't want to be like a lot of men that I know, both in my family and I've had witnessed in situations where, I mean, like in my family, men don't even hug or say I love you on my Marlow side. To hear, I don't know, I could probably count on two hands, maybe one, the number of times I've heard a I love you or an emotional response of
Mm.
from the male side of my my father's side of the family. And so I just observed that and I was like, that's not who I want to be. That's not what I want to do. And I'm like, it bothered me because as a kid, I craved that. I didn't know what it was. It was
Hmm.
probably part of the reason I was really angry with my father for a long time was that you showing up with money and you showing up with this were good, but I had a piece of me that wasn't fulfilled because of affection, the support, the emotional stability, and the things I should have learned from you. And I had an amazing stepfather, so don't get me wrong, but those things were missing, and I
Hmm.
just didn't want to do that. I made a vow if I wasn't going to do anything, there were going to be three things I was going to do: love God, be a great husband, be a great father.
Well, your spiritual father put in the comments, "I love you, Raf."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I mean, he Fellowship of Champions, specifically Pastor Edwin and the guys did play a big role in that. And we're still learning emotional intelligence. We're still improving on who we are. But we do have a group of men that's been together about a decade where we share things with each other. We check in with each other. Just this, and it's various. Just this week, somebody personally, brother, my boy Kale, put the check in. Hey, how's everybody doing? And then specifically asked us questions about things he knew that was going on in our life. And I think that also helps open up the door to be willing to share when you know that you can share in a space that you're not going to be treated or seen
Mhm.
as weak or belittled because you're a certain way or you
Yeah.
feel a certain way.
So you have, we talked about needing that space, but you have a lot of different roles to add, I guess, pressure.
Yes.
And I say pressure not from a negative perspective, just
Right.
responsibility. So you're a director, you have the three kids, your husband, you're a minister. How do you deal with showing up with excellence in those roles and then taking care of yourself mentally?
Well, I do the second one first. If I don't take care of me, I won't be good for anybody else. And that's probably something I started learning over right pre-COVID because pre
Mhm.
during COVID I tried not tried stayed at home with my kids and I schooled them while I ran a organization with 200 staff members across the state and they needed me, my kids needed me, and I'll be honest, I went to a pretty dark place. Like it was I was overwhelmed, I was frustrated, I was extremely unhappy, and so I started walking. And when I started walking, it was just a release to get outside, to be away for a second, you know. And so now I make it a priority to choose me first. In a
Mhm.
sense, not in a selfish manner, because my God is always first. I'm always going to provide for my family. But if I want to be truthful about it, if I want to be the best provider for my family, if I want to show up to work and be the best director I can and not be going off on my staff because they do
Right.
things. Because honestly, when we don't deal with those emotions, that's what happens. We create victims where they shouldn't be victims because they are just the outlet because we didn't deal with the emotion in the time we should have dealt with it. So over time, that's what I do. So I choose me. Like this morning, it was rough. I was telling you about it. It was a rough morning. In the mornings, I like planning things. I want the kids' clothes laid out the night before. I want the snacks ready. I want all that because I learned that if my day gets started rough, it just kind of snowballs. So I do small things throughout the day and throughout my life to help guide that. So I help get the kids' clothes ready. I help. I go to the gym this morning. I was frustrated. My head was bothering me, and I've actually tracked it. Like my blood pressure goes up in the morning, just a
Mm.
sense of having to do all that. But when I develop a pattern that helped smooth out the mornings, it made things better. So I choose me. I choose me, and choosing me allows me to be the best for everybody else.
So, what messages do men receive from society when it comes to vulnerability and emotional support?
Don't do it. I mean, you weak. I mean, why you soft? I mean, and 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 if you're not careful and you don't, and I hadn't always been this way, but you'll bottle up so much until it internally it kills you. And so you may not be expressing the anger and the things outwardly because you got enough emotional control that you don't do that, but internally you're unhappy. And what happens is men are dying earlier. They're suffering from
Mhm.
illnesses and diseases simply because they don't take the time to take care of themselves. Because we're taught to take care of everybody, to make sure everybody's good. And in doing that, you sometimes can run yourself into the ground.
So, what mindsets did you have to overcome? Not necessarily with sharing, because you said I share, but just maybe the taking care of everybody. What mindsets did you have to overcome to be able to say, I can put myself first?
Uh, really look. Naturally I'm an observer. I like looking at people,
Mhm.
and when I looked at the men in my family, they were hard workers, hands down. The men in the family, I know they worked. They didn't sit at home play video. Every man I know in my family was a hard worker, but also they all had a vice of some sort to escape, whether that was
Mm.
alcohol, smoking weed, or gambling, and all of that. And so I was like, okay, you can be a hard worker and you can be a provider, but you can obviously still be unhappy doing that. And so that ain't what I want. I want the hard
Mhm.
work part, but I can't have this part. And then I met a few. I had a deacon at my church. His name was Mr. Not was. His name is Mr. Dion. And Mr. Dion was probably one of the most affectionate men I ever encountered through high school. And you weren't gonna go about passing without a hug. You want to go. I think you met him one time when we were down there. No,
Probably.
not this last time you weren't there, but he hugged everybody in the room when I went to my sister's funeral. That's just who he was. He's going to make you feel welcome. He's going to listen. He's going to give you time. And so I looked at him, and I mean, now he's 80, but if you look at him, he doesn't look 80. He
Mm.
doesn't look his age because I think it's because he learned how to do that. And so he taught me a few things, but that's kind of where it started for me was finding a role model that
Mhm.
looks like what you want to become, and then that role model can take you so far, and then you find another one, and you can have different role models for different areas of your life. And then the other thing that helped me was I was I fought a lot in the neighborhood. And one day, my brother, after I got in a fight and everything, he pulled me aside. And he's like, "Bro, you're gonna end up just like our uncles. You're gonna be in
Mm.
jail." And for me, that was the last fight I ever had because
Wow.
I was like, "Okay, I got to do something with this anger so that I don't go to jail." Jail was a life changer for me. I'll be honest
I'm
with you.
glad. I mean, I'm not glad you went, but I mean, you didn't. I'm glad you didn't go, but I'm glad
I
it
made a
was a
lot of
deterrent.
decisions based off, oh, the end result would be jail. Can't do
Mhm.
it, because you still get angry, you still get frustrated. The thing is, how do you process that information?
Yeah. So you actually mentioned losing going your sister's funeral, and I know again because we're friends outside of this. Um, you dealt with a lot of really close loss in a pretty short span of time. You lost your mom, your sister, nephew. Um, Again, that's all real. Those are real significant losses. What was that grieving process like, and how did you continue to take care of yourself, or was this a time when you didn't take care of yourself? Tell us how you processed that.
Uh, I'm probably still processing a lot
Yeah.
of it. And especially my sister, because that was the most recent. For me, I take a time. First of all, for me, when somebody passes away, I immediately start focusing on all the great memories I have of that person.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, if you only think about they're gone, they're missing, that's where a lot of for me, the feelings, not that I don't want to have and shouldn't have, but that's where a lot of the sad moments come. And so, um, I think it was my grandpa, my uncle, my mama, my nephew, and then my sister, all within a 4 or 5 year period.
Mm.
And what I did was just, first of all, I went to my tribe. I mean, honestly, I talked to April a lot about how I feel. And I mean, as you know, I mean, I had a therapist. She moved, so I'm looking for another. But I talked to my therapist about it. But a lot of times, I pray about things. I talk about things. I would be riding in my car, and I go to call my mama or call my sister, and I would just cry, and
Yeah.
then, and I would let myself cry. I'll dry my eyes up, and I go into work. But I let myself feel those feelings. I let myself feel those feelings, and I wouldn't suppress them.
Hmm.
Like I said, I would go back and I would think about all the great memories. And like I get to raise my sister's son. So one of the ways I see that as a way of giving back to her is that I have an opportunity to raise her son to give him the best possible life. And so that's a great way to honor her is to do that. And a great way to honor my mother is to live the best life possible and take care of my sister
Hmm.
while she was here. And so those things are true, kind of like Pastor Evan said, emotional honesty. Be true to how you are and just like, hey,
Right.
I feel sad. And it's okay to feel sad. Uh, but I think I process death a little different than people. I mean, it is something that's going to happen. And it's not that you can prepare for it, but like I said, I choose to only focus on the great memories. I choose
Mm.
to only focus on the things that bring me joy about this person. I write things down, and things like that to help process that. And then I talk to people. I'm not too big. If I got to a point where I was really down, especially like with my mom and things when that first started rolling, I mean, I talked to April a lot. I think I probably called you or Dad a couple times because I want to be free. And it goes back to the first question you asked me. I can't be the best for my family. I can't be the best for my on my job. I can't be the best for my kids if I'm not the best for me. So I had to assign a new meaning to being emotionally honest. I need to be emotionally honest so that I could be the best because I can't walk around talking about I'm the best husband, best father, best whatever, if I ain't taking care of me. Because you can't be the best unless you take care of yourself first. And so for some men, that may be a new meaning you can assign to
Hmm.
expressing your emotions and being emotionally honest and increasing your emotional intelligence is that I am doing this so I can be the thing I desire to be.
Yeah. Now you talked about kind of this, really what you're describing is emotional maturity, being able to be honest and process. A lot of people don't have emotional maturity or emotional intelligence. What are some things that you would say people can start to pay attention to see if they have emotional intelligence or maturity? What are some signs of maybe the emotional immaturity? What are some of those signs that you see with men that would suggest they have a lot of emotional work to do?
Well, a lot of frustration and anger, anxiety. And if a lot of men be still enough, they'll find themselves going off on people that ain't even the reason that they should be going off on. So if you upset with your wife or upset on your job, and then you come home and take it out on your wife and kid, you're emotionally immature
Mm,
because you did not take the time to process that information. And not that you should direct that emotion to anybody, but you shouldn't make innocent people victims of your emotional instability
that's good.
because that's just unfair. And for me, fairness is highly important. And I don't want to make my family victims. I don't want to make my friends victims. I don't want to make my staff. People are important to me. God
Mm-hmm.
loves people. I should love people. And if I'm going to love people properly, then I have to be able to ensure that I handle my emotions in both the professional way at work and even at home, so that I don't make people victims. I mean, it's
So
not fair to them.
so the first step I heard you say was not to bleed on the people that didn't cut you.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Not to bleed on people that didn't cut you. Uh, I would say for some men, uh, you should just look at your health, look at your weight,
Mm,
because a lot of men may not admit it, but you eat because you're depressed. You're looking for an outlet, and if you're saved and you're a believer, you're like, well, I can't do drugs and I'm not going to do this because I don't want to disappoint God. So food, even though we know gluttony is a sin, but people ain't talking about that one.
right.
So you're eating yourself into a situation. Look at the last physical you have. What does your blood work look like? Is your blood pressure up? you know uh there are signs even in your body that show that you're not handling stress well. But we don't want to. And some men, a third thing that you could do is, how often do you discount feelings? You don't even allow yourself to feel the full spectrum of emotions. And so if you're preventing yourself from feeling a certain way, it is also a sign of immaturity.
So blocking your emotions, not taking care of your physical health, taking things out on people who didn't hurt you, or just taking
Mhm,
things out on others, period. Signs of emotional immaturity.
mhm.
What are some things that you began to see that showed you that you were growing in this area? Like, how did you start to shift?
Well, the walking made me feel better. Like like when I go work out, I work out for mental health. That's the
Mhm.
first priority. Then the good benefit of it is has physical health, right? But mental health is a priority for our workout. And I saw myself, and if you slow down enough in those moments, uh, you'll feel better. You're like, oh gosh. And here's an example. It's the same feeling you get when you escape. So when you go and drink the alcohol, or you go and have sex, or you go and do drugs, because you're feeling a certain way. You weren't even thinking about doing that, but you want to escape. And when you escape in that moment, you feel good. Well, there's ways to produce those moments
Mm-hmm.
without the side effects of drugs, without the side effects of drama and messiness. And so those are the things I looked at. I was like, dude, I'm walking and I feel better. Like my mind is clear.
Right.
I don't want to snap on my kids for the smallest of things. I mean, and that's how I knew I had an issue. Uh,
Mm.
because we were doing work at home, man, and I would get a call. I'll literally be on a Zoom. I was on a Zoom one day, and they came in there fussing. And I told my staff, I got 200 people on Zoom. I said, y'all hold on just a second. I muted that camera and I snapped on them. And honestly, they were just doing. And I always judge myself. Is this kids
It's
being
good.
kids, or is this atypical, right? Does this deserve that? And
Right.
I was like, they didn't deserve it. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
apologize to them, but it allowed me to see that I was in a bad place. And then from there, the walking, from there,
Mm-hmm.
I found me a counselor. And I began, and during that time, I know I talked to Pastor Edwin a whole lot. I'm like, dude, you got to help a brother. And he helped me process, because we think differently about things. And so gaining perspective from somebody who naturally doesn't think like you is such a valuable asset,
Yeah,
because it lets you see the full picture.
that's good. What's something that husbands wish that wives understood?
Man, that's like a loaded question. See, here we talking about get out. Sorry, get out, Aiden. Close the door. So ask me that one more time.
What's something that husbands wish that wives understood?
me needing space doesn't mean you did anything wrong.
Mm,
That would be one. Uh, that would be one thing. Just because I deep breathe or something like that, that doesn't even mean that anything's wrong. Uh, and if I need space, please allow me that opportunity to have that space. Uh, I think that's one thing that's there, and I think I'm trying to process back now in years because me and April are pretty. We've talked about it a lot, so I'm trying to recall things I wish I. Fellas, y'all in the comments, y'all help a brother out. What things I wish my wife
yeah,
knew?
that's a great question. If you're in the
That
comments,
is that
husbands,
is a that is
what
a
are some things you wish wives understood? What I heard you say, Ralph, was um, don't take everything personal if I'm
mhm,
having a moment.
right. Uh, and also, I guess this is a parallel, but depending on how you and your spouse are wired, uh, don't take questioning or me providing information as interrogating you because it's a bad idea either. Like in the
Mm,
sense that, like fundamentally, me and April are wired different. I ask a lot of questions, and because my mathematical brain wants to connect dots, and I want to see linear progression. I want to see how things are connected. And so when we're talking some things abstract, such as feelings, when I'm asking questions, I'm not trying
mm,
to minimize how you feel or anything like that. I just truly don't understand. So lots of questions aren't bad. That's
yeah,
one thing I mean, really, lots of questions aren't bad. Now you got to learn how to phrase those questions.
right,
You
right.
know, but lots of questions are not bad.
Now, comments over here, people helping you out. So,
Yes, I
Pastor
see
Edwin
Pastor
said,
Edwin.
if you tell us a problem by nature, we will want to fix it. And if you
Yes.
don't want me to fix it, tell me you're just venting.
Yes, that is and April told me the other day because she mentioned something, uh and she's like, I really didn't want that. And I was like, well,
Mm.
by nature, what if when we go back to the beginning, men are always we are taught to be a good man. Let me preface all this by saying a good man. Because all men ain't out here trying to do such things. The men I know, they are, but yeah, we're gonna try to fix it because naturally now that is one you didn't ask this question, but that's one of the most freeing things that I did. I realized I am not responsible for anybody's happiness, including my wife.
Mm,
And me and
that's
April
good.
have had direct conversations where I have said what I've said, and at this point, I am telling you, I'm done with it. This is where I'm at, and so because if you're not careful, you'll be out here trying to do all these things to make your
Mhm.
spouse happy, to make your kids happy, and running yourself into the ground when all your kids wanted was a cardboard box of Christmas. And you
Yeah,
out here working overtime to get them the brand new PS5. Sometimes they just want like my kids, they don't care about stuff that much. They want to be with me. Now, I'll be
yeah.
honest, sometimes that's taxing. I'm like, I don't want to be with you right now. But
Hmm.
we got to things like I tell my kids, Daddy need time. I don't want nobody to call me
Yeah.
my name. I don't want any of that, right? But you got to be careful that you're not working so hard that you're trying to satisfy everybody. So going back to Pastor Edwin's question statement, if you tell us a problem by nature, we're worth to fix it. I'm also at the point now. If you tell me a problem, unless you ask me to fix it, I ain't always jumping in and volunteering.
Mm,
Because that's freeing to know that, baby, you could be sad and I could be being a 9 out of 10 husband, and your
that's true.
sadness, that's an internal problem. So you know what I'm going
That's
to keep
true.
doing? I'm going to pray for you, I'm going to fast for you, and I'm going to wish you well. But what I'm not going to do is be out here wearing myself out for a work coworker, for a friend,
Hmm.
for anybody when their issue is internal and I'm feeling like I got to try to externally satisfy that. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that helped me be free. I let people be people,
And
regardless
they
of
will be.
they will be.
Pastor Edwin said, tell them it's two parents in this house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, what would you say to a man who says, I'm struggling with feeling the pressure of being a good father, trying to be a good husband, or just, life in general with my job, whatever? What would you say to a man that's feeling the pressure of trying to live up to a good standard?
I would tell them don't compare. Number one, don't
Mhm.
compare. Because comparison will have you feeling, depending on who you compare to. Like you can go
True.
to some areas of, and you feel like hey, you could write the book on being a great husband, and then you can step in the very next room and feel like you're a bum. So don't compare, and then define what good looks like, because you got to be really careful. Every family and every man has a different vision on what makes that family successful
Mhm.
and what makes that family run. And if you're out here just saying, I want to be a great husband, but you don't even know what that looks like. And for me to be a
Right.
great husband, guess what? It got to include comments from my wife. So if you're saying you want to be a great husband, then I don't get to come up with the factors that make a great husband. Now I got to
Mhm.
live according to the word if you're a believer. So for me, I got to love my wife like Christ loves the church. But I got to ask my wife, what does being a great husband look like?
Mhm.
I think sometimes issues happen when we as men sometimes don't ask the right questions and we're out here doing things, putting in a lot of effort, and it's not really what our wife or our kids wanted in the first place. So and going back to the example, you're working 60, 80 hours a week to make all this money and go on vacations. Really what your kids want is you to sit on the couch with a bowl of popcorn and watch a movie with them. But if you never, I ask my kids probably at least once a month, am I being a good father? And what's one thing I could do better to father you?
Yeah.
And I give them an opportunity to tell me, because I could be out here making up stuff, wearing myself out, and not giving my kids, my wife, my family what they need, what they determine to be good. So if I'm going to be a great husband, I got to ask my wife. If I'm going to be a great father, I got to ask my kids. Now, there's some basics you got to do. You got to show up. You got to be a man of your word. You got to operate in integrity, character, and excellence.
Mhm.
There are some basics, but uh, to be great, to be phenomenal, you got to ask the people who you're trying to be great to how to be great.
Now I'm gonna say, because I've seen really great examples of great husbands, great fathers. You, Kevin, Pastor Edwin, our tribe, right? What I see from you guys is not so much you not asking us what you can do to be great. It's the other part. You not telling us what you need from us.
Yeah.
How do men get to the place where they're okay with saying, but this is what I need, or
And
this is what I'm not getting? This, you know
that's
what I'm saying?
that's a journey because it goes back to the football field. Suck it up, boy. Go on out there and do it again, right? You're just taught to deal with it. Well, hey, coach, my teammate, don't talk to me about your teammate. You run your race. And so it's all
Hmm.
about independence, it's all about strength. And it feels weak to say, baby, this is what I need from you, right? And so, but I think it comes to a point where when you're going back and you're saying, in order for me to be the best me, I got to take care of me. What do I need to be happy? And you got to, and then in doing it, like one of the easiest things you could do is take the love language test as far as being married goes. And like for me, it's physical touch and acts of service. So, and I know, and I had to talk to April about this. April's excellent with words of affection and thank yous and baby, I appreciate it. But you know what? That put 0 points in the bank for me. Like,
Mm.
'cause I don't care about that. I mean, no, give me a kiss, give me a hug. Do if I had a long day and I come home to a kitchen, like in my older days, I'm about to be 41, so it's not that old. I came home the other day and the kitchen was clean and everything was clean. I'm like, "Whoo, baby, you speaking my language now." But we took the love language test, and it's an easy way to segue into a conversation about needs,
Hmm.
you know, and what you need. And even as you and being married, even as you mature and have kids, needs as far as sex goes, you gotta communicate that. You walking around frustrated at your wife because y'all ain't
Yeah.
talk. That's just not fair, and it's not your wife's fault that you're not getting met if you never told her. And I think walking around once again, innocent people getting victimized. You're walking around frustrated, but you never told your wife you'll like to have sex 2 or 3 times a week. She's thinking one time is good. But
Hmm.
because you didn't communicate your needs, it's unfair to hold somebody accountable to uncommunicated information. It's just, that's not fair. So, because I wanted to be the best version of myself, it forced me to have conversations that were uncomfortable. And I had to tell my wife what I needed. But in the end, she was like, no problem. You need me to help with this or help with that? Like,
Right.
I do most of the cooking. But I'll tell April, I'm like, hey, on Wednesdays, I need help. So she's like, cool, no problem. But had I never asked on
Right.
Wednesday, I might feel stressed out because I got church, I got other things going on Wednesdays. But you got to learn to ask, and it goes back to the premise: if I really want to be the best me, I got to be able to have the crucial conversations with the needed people, and on your job as well. You
Hmm.
got to be able to tell. People laugh at me all the time, but I'll be honest. I don't take a lot of my. I mean, I don't. I'm gonna tell people what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell you
Hmm.
how I'm gonna act, and then that's what I'm gonna do. And if we can't work that out, then we probably should just part ways. But
Yeah.
your job, you got to be able to communicate. When I take a job, it's God and family first. And I don't care what you need me to do. I'm going to take care of God and family first. And then after that, then I'm going to take care of the job. And you're not going to get to stress me out on my job. You're
Yeah.
not.
So are y'all learning something out there? If you are, put a one in the comments. Tell us what you're learning. You have any questions? Now I have another question, Ralph. What are some ways that some healthy ways? Let me say that. What are some healthy ways that men can decompress to from daily stress? What are some healthy ways that they can take care of themselves?
I would encourage men to work out. Uh, and the reason I say that, science tells us that what I mean, even if it's not, I mean, I don't care your size or anything, just walk. Getting outside and walking for 20, 30 minutes will be so beneficial to your mental health. Leave your phone, don't leave all distractions, and just get out there. So that would be one way. I also encourage men to get a therapist. You don't having a therapist, and this is the way, because I've been dealing with mental health for the last decade with my job and things like that. Having a therapist is much like hiring a personal trainer. We don't see
Mm,
any issue with hiring personal trainers to lose weight, to train our kids, to teach us about money. We hire coaches for anything. So the thing I used to always tell parents is this: you'll hire a coach to make your kids better. You'll do all these things. A therapist is simply a coach that's going to teach you how to process information and process your feelings
mhm.
better. There are things about ourselves that we don't know, we don't see, and we don't understand. Uh, Sorry about that,
No
my phone.
problem.
Um, and having somebody who has been professionally trained to help you uncover some things
Hmm.
is needed. So I would tell anybody to get you a therapist. And I mean, I've met with a couple therapists and they weren't good fits for me. And but that doesn't mean you give up and you quit.
Right.
Say you
Right.
pick the box. You just keep going until you find somebody that you mesh with. So exercise, therapy, uh, laughing. Like we got a group, and it ain't a day in day heck since we created it that we ain't laughed in our group. And so I would encourage you to have a safe place to laugh, to just let loose, to be you, because there ain't a lot of places that guys can just be guys. And honestly, as guys, we're going to be immature sometimes, and our wives
Hmm.
don't like that. So we got our own space to go be as immature as we want to. And guess what? Ain't nobody gonna be like, you doing too much. Having that space to go do that is important. Uh,
How would a man go about creating that space if they don't already have it?
so I think building authentic and genuine relationships. Like the example I give, in high school, I had some really great friends, but and we grew up together. We did everything together. But there was a place I wanted to go that, based on their actions, I couldn't tell they wanted to go in that direction.
Hmm.
So once again, I had to choose me. You can't let decades of friendship stop you from making different choices. And so I
Mm.
began to look for people who had a desire to have similar outcomes as myself. So it required me finding new people. And as you find those new people, then you'll be able to develop authentic relationships. And guys don't take a long time. I mean, it ain't taking months and years for you to know, like, oh, like when I first met BJ, BJ is one of my good friends. It didn't take a long time to know, like, this is my guy right here. Like, we met each other, we talked, and it was like, this is it, right? I see my boy Rod in there. I mean, some people you just connect with, and then you just take it from there. And as the relationship matures, you have an openness to share things.
Oh, Pastor Edwin said in 7 days we know.
So,
7 days, you know if there's somebody you can hang out with or not. And I think that's a really great thing to for grown-ups in general to learn, even if the people that you grew up with are not going in the same direction. It's okay for you to make new friends as adults. It's okay for you to
yeah,
to intentionally build that community that's needed.
yeah. And you should always be building a community because you don't know if you need them or they need you. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so, right, both, right. And so I think we should always be doing that because also that's how I mean, I'm a different person because of Pastor Edwin and Sid and Kev and Rod and Valley and BJ. I'm a different person. I got a group that holds me accountable. I see
mhm.
some of the amazing things they do. And my brother and Cam, I knew it was somebody was missing, and it strives to make me want to be better, right?
Mhm.
And they hold me accountable. And I think that's another aspect why some people don't want friends, not good ones, because you don't want anybody to hold you accountable. So if all y'all around there is drinking a 40 pack every weekend and escaping your issues, then you don't have the right set of people to hold you
Mm.
accountable because they're going to think what you're doing is okay. So sometimes you need people in your life that I wouldn't even say will be a friend, but be an accountability partner. We don't always need friends. We need people to grow us up. And in the
Mm.
church, it could be your pastor, it could be a deacon, it could be somebody else. And see, so a lot of times, because I know we started with friends, but I talked about accountability yesterday. You need somebody that's going to grow your tail up. They may not be your friend, but you got to be willing to let somebody grow you up.
Yeah, in the comments, Pastor Edwin said, "Cause if you my friend and you about to cheat, I'm telling." So, and I think that that's really important
That's
though, because a lot of times people don't. And again, this we're talking about men, but you don't want somebody that's going to hold you accountable or hold you to a higher standard, and you
and
know,
that's and
call you out.
that's one of those signs of emotional immaturity. If you
Mm.
don't want anybody in your life, everybody should have somebody in their life that can call them and check them. And if you don't have that, it's you ain't trying to change. I got. I mean, I personally have
That's
several
good.
people that can call and check me right now.
Yeah.
I allow my kids to do it. Like Aiden this morning was like, Dad, we had a conversation last night about X, Y, and Z. And you said you was gonna do this. You didn't
Mhm.
do it. And I was like, you're right, son. My bad. And see, when you let others hold you accountable, it only makes you better. And
Yeah.
like I said, once again, it ain't always about friendship. It's about growing me up. So you
Yeah.
find your role model. If that role model has to hold you accountable, they want to be your friend, great. But nothing else, you're like, I want to be a better man. Are you willing to help me? If a friendship develops out of it, great. But if it doesn't, I'm going to be better because I have somebody to hold me accountable.
Yeah. Now you have brought a lot of perspective, a lot of nuggets you've dropped. Somebody in the comments, I think it was Courtney, I saw said, "Can Ralph come back and tell us more about the perspective, the male perspective or the husband perspective?" So I'm going to go ahead and say, at some point, we wanted you to come back because the women have said we need to know about the husband perspective. So I may get a panel.
I
Um,
was like, I was like, we get a panel.
get a
That'll be
panel
good.
up here and see what we can do to hear about the husband perspective for the ladies. Um, Now, Ralph, you wrote a book, and I think it's really a great book. I read this book years ago when you first put it out that
Mhm.
first round. Um, and so I want you to tell us kind of what inspired this book, what is the book about, and how we can get the book.
Okay, cool. So the book is Good Enough Isn't a Guide to Being a Great Husband. And so you guys have all heard the saying, good is the greatest enemy to being great, right? And what inspired me to be it, I just, like I said, I had three things I wanted to do in life. I wanted to love God, I wanted to be a great husband, I wanted to be a great father. Those are the three things I wanted. And I ain't always made the best decisions as a husband. Uh, as great as I am, I have made mistakes. I'm not perfect, and so as I sit down, and that's when I was a teacher, I think, or maybe a principal at that time. I had the summer off, and I feel like the Lord was like, just sit down, reflect on how you can improve your communication, because I think me and April on marriage 3.0 right now. I think it's 3.0. It may be 4. And when we say that, it was some defining moments in our lives that called us to restructure our marriage
Mm-hmm.
and fix the communication. And around that time I wrote that book, it was one of them. And so the book is about how to effectively communicate to with your wife. It's a very practical. I wrote it just for my fellas. I mean, it got big word. It's a playbook. All right, it's called the playbook. It got big words. Like one chapter is like the important. Why is communication important? How do I communicate through words? How do I communicate through actions? How do I communicate words that excite and arouse? So you want your wife to be in the mood and be ready for you, but you ain't done nothing all day to create that atmosphere. And
Mm-hmm.
so how do you do that? Because I think sometimes as husbands, we are so matter of fact, where women, I think the book talks about it as you could consider you could your wife is like software, you want to take advantage of the hardware, but you ain't installed any software.
Oh, wow.
You ain't took the time out to program it so that the hardware can perform, and so taking a moment to talk about those things and navigate that was the purpose of the book. Because I know if I'm out here struggling and I had some of my boys read it, they're like, yeah, this is good, and I was just like, well, let's put it out there. But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't want to be an average husband. I don't want to be an average father. I take pride in those areas, and so the book is really written for me. I go read it probably once or twice a year, and that way I can go and find out the things I've slipped on. Because the thing you'll
Mm,
realize this, and I told somebody the other day, just because you wrote it don't mean you're applying it, and just because you wrote it don't mean that you're still doing remembering.
right.
You got to go back, and as a husband, any great person will examine how they live,
Yeah.
because through examination you can become better. So that's what the book is about, man. It's an easy read. It's designed just for my guys. Some funny examples, things like that, but really just to grow us up and make us better.
How do we get the book?
How do you get the book? I think my boy Kevin Billings dropped it. So I'm going. Yeah, I forget. I ain't in my. Uh, I'm up here clicking like I'm in the studio. So you go to www.rafmarlow.com. All right. You go there. It's really simple. The first thing that's going to come up is a book. There's an ebook copy, and then there's a hardback copy. I think the ebook is. I'll be lying. I think the ebook's 10 and the hardback's 15. And so that's how you can go and get the book. It really is, like I said, an easy, simple read. But it's not going to go into details about everything you need to do. It's really
Mhm.
to jumpstart your thinking about what you're doing as a husband and help you to identify areas that you may need to increase your game. All right, because once you get married, dating doesn't stop. Once you get married, the flirting doesn't stop. The surprise, if you were surprising her when you were dating, you need to surprise her while you're married to her. We'll celebrate year 21, and I still celebrate April like I did when we were 14 and I was going to Walmart buying them $20 gold necklaces. That was way back in the day, but that was real gold for $20. But now I do the same thing, because it's unfair as a man to bring a woman into a situation where you courted her, got her, and then you stopped. But that
Yeah.
ain't why we're here. But let me discount code. So anybody ordering over the next week, uh, for my sis, you got a code. I think it's 15% off, and the code is Minding My Mental Health. The acronym MMMH. So if you enter that code at checkout, it'll take 15% off the price of the ebook or the hardback book if you utilize that.
I would definitely say husbands, go ahead, make sure you head over and get that book. You also have something else going on called the Outer Circle. Tell us about that.
Gotcha.
I think it goes along with what we've talked about today, having a safe place for men. So
Yeah.
I want you to be able to share what's going on with the Outer Circle.
All right, so the outer circle. Shout out to my pastor, my friend, my girl, Pastor Sean, for pushing us guys. So I first got to do that. But man, outer circle is going to be a phenomenal community designed to be a safe place for guys to grow up and hold each other accountable. All right, and what I know this for the last 2 years, God has put guys on my heart, and I've been praying and interceding, and I'm doing a better job now. And this group is going to be the way that we begin to minister to men. And it's not just going to be about it's going to be about being better men, but that's also better leaders in our communities, in our households, on our jobs. And so the outer circle, our first live event, where we're going to introduce the community. We're going to talk about what our plans are, why you should join, things like that. Will be February 27th at 7 p.m. If you go on Facebook, it's a private group. You can submit your information to become a member of the group. And I also ask that you go and sign up for the event. Because here's the thing, every man ain't going to want to grow up. And I'll be honest with you. If you ain't ready for change, this probably ain't for you. Because for me, uh, it ain't playing about games. We're dealing with people's lives, including our own. And so I know that there are men that want to grow up and they want to be able to have a safe place to pick up a phone
Mm-hmm.
call, phone, and say, hey, I'm about to make a poor decision. Because you don't got it, kind of going back to what you're saying. They don't have anybody. But I want to create a space where men can be held accountable, where men can have outlets to just vent, because it may be a time I don't need Pastor Evan to counsel me. I just need to call one of my boys and vent. And they say,
Right.
okay, you good? I'm like, I'm good. And really, that's all I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to create a space where men can do that, where it's safe, where we don't have to worry about people running out and telling folks business or any of that. And so that's what we're going to do. And so if that's something that you want, and I'll tell you as a wife, if it's something that you want your husband to be a part of, just be careful how you tell them. Because sometimes men won't change, but because you told them they needed to do it, they'll deny the whole change they want for themselves. So
Talk
be
about
careful in your approach. Even I see Pastor Evans said, buy it for your husband. Yeah, buy it for a husband. And so if you buy it for your husband, like, hey, baby, I got you this book to work on communication. And this is what I'm doing too to work on
it.
communication.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look like you just need to step up your game. Because some men won't take, I wouldn't take it personal, but there are men out there that be like, so you think, what's wrong with me then? I ain't good enough.
Yeah.
So know your man if you do that. Or some of y'all at the point, like, if you don't read this book, we're going to get a divorce. And I've had a couple people call me and I talked to them through that. And the book actually helped them
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So I encourage that. I encourage people to go buy the book. I encourage people to go join Outer Circle, because we're going to make some great strides and create some waves and on the male side of things over here.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to the progress that we see in the marriages and the restoration that occur, and the getting rid of shame that a lot of men carry around.
Oh, we're too late. I wish we could get into that a little bit
Yeah,
more.
but hey,
Um,
I come back because it ain't no thing for me. But yeah, because that's really what I've been studying a lot about, is dealing with shame, uh,
mm,
and the process of overcoming that shame, and how that shame really diminishes a lot of things in our life,
yeah.
including our perspective for self. And so, but no, yeah, that'll be good. But we're going to deal with that over there. We're going to deal
All
with
right. Well, I encourage every man that's watching, every man that will watch this, go ahead, go find the Outer Circle um, on Facebook, sign up for that event, sign up for that group, do those things, because men need a safe place, not just a safe place where they can say what they want to say, but a safe place that's going to actually give them wisdom when
Yes.
they're saying what they want to say. So I definitely advocate and recommend the Outer Circle, recommend the book Good Enough Isn't. Do all of those things to be a better you. It's time for us to take care of our mental health, to take care of ourselves, not just the physical, but the emotional as well. Thank you, Ralph, for coming. You know I love you.
I love
You're
you
one of
too.
my favorite people. Any parting words or last words before we end today's broadcast that will help the men, or just something for them to carry with them as they go throughout their day?
The thing I would just say, you're not alone. And no matter how hard it may be, no matter how difficult you think it may be to change, no matter the barrier, you're not alone. You don't have to fight this battle alone. Uh, you got help. There's help. And I'm not just talking. I'm talking God is help, but I'm talking if you need something and I can help you or walk you through, then my Facebook, hit me up in Messenger. But I don't want to think that any man's out there alone. You're worthy, you have value, you're important, and this it is worth it. And so stick to it. No matter, you might have been divorced once or twice, you might have had a bunch of girlfriends, it didn't work, you might have lost your job. It doesn't matter. You are valuable. You are worth it. And I'm looking forward to better days coming your way.
Very good. I said this last question, one more. What
Okay.
what would you tell the 20-year-old Ralph?
I would tell the 20-year-old Ralph, uh, what I would tell the 20-year-old Ralph, honestly, probably is more business related, is to make more friends, network more. Uh, because in doing that, you have more opportunities to, uh, and this totally business related. But when you said that, I would tell the 20-year-old Ralph need to network. I mean, you're in a room with JB Hunt and people like that, and you just stayed in the corner. So the
Mm.
20-year-old Ralph needed to network more.
But I
Yeah.
think that's still relevant though, because it's getting outside of your comfort zone
Mhm.
to learn and to grow and to get around people who don't look like you or who don't think like you, which then in essence does help you to mature in a different way. So I appreciate that. Y'all give it up for Ralph, give it up for my brother. Give me some hearts, some fire, some shares. Go ahead and share this video again. Put it in your comments. I mean, in your stories. Share it to groups. If you are part of, there are any guys that are part of guy groups, go ahead and share this. You guys know I will be right back here next Thursday with another episode of Minding My Mental Health. Why are we here every Thursday? Because we are tearing down the stigma in our community, specifically the African American community, of taking care of our mental health, and we want to bring awareness. Again, thank you, Courtney. Thank you for the suggestion. We're going to have Raf, and maybe I can get a couple more of my tribe to come on, and we'll have a husband panel to share some things that maybe we need to learn and
That's
hear.
gonna be good.
No, I know
Laugh,
we can grow and learn from that. I appreciate you.
laughing and learning. That's gonna be.
Laughing and learning. That may be what the whole episode is going to be
That's
called
gonna be.
too.
Hey, if you got in mind some of the people I got, it's gonna be entertaining and informative. I already know it.
Yeah, I will send out some text messages and see if we can get that started. Courtney, you better show up. We're doing it for you, Courtney. So again, thank you, Ralph. Thank you all. I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye bye.